Hi. So I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about borderline personality disorder. I know yesterday I put out and I kind of came out there as someone who is struggling with borderline personality disorder. Um, so I want to kind of highlight what that means for all those out there who don't know and don't have the education surrounding it, and what that means for me. All my life I've been known as the go-to person, the one that has their stuff together, the one that is very on top of things, excellent mom, good with kids, can get down at their level, be super creative and exciting. And then also just adventure seeking and putting myself out there and taking risks when I need to and all these wonderful things. And I have built this image of myself, which we call a social mask, kind of like how we would like others to perceive us. And not that any of those things are true, but all they do is hide some of the more negative aspects about ourselves that we wish people did not know. And so while I've been that person that everybody's like, yeah, she's doing so great, she's such a great mom, she's such this, what I was doing was hurting myself, because when I was struggling with BPD, there wasn't anyone that I could turn to. There wasn't anyone that I could reach out and say, hey, I'm really struggling right now, and I just need you to know that. I don't need you to do anything, but I need you to know that, so that if I need to call upon you, or if I need support in any way, I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, today's not going good. I need you to talk to me for a bit. So some of the hallmarkers for BPD, the biggest thing is personality function. Identity is a huge one. And I know I'm always saying, I'm finding myself, I'm finding who I am. And that's because development of personality and self-image is really underdeveloped with people with BPD. Your personality and some of your traits are changing, they're fluctuating, and it's really hard to get a hold on, these are the things that make me me. These are the things, this is who I am. It's such a question, it's an ongoing question, and it's always developing. So it's very hard to feel a sense of security in your self-identity, because you're chronically feeling empty, you're feeling dissociated, and I'll get into that. You're feeling stressed. You're feeling like, you're giving yourself a lot of self-criticism. And for a lot of people, that affects your ability to maintain goals, your values, your career plans. Now, for me, the biggest thing is to make goals, because if I make a goal, then it gives me a starting place. It gives me a place to work from, and it gives me a progress monitor. How far am I from reaching my goals? So I'm very goal-oriented, which I think in some ways is saves me and allows me to be highly functioning while having a BPD disorder. I realize that other people have it a lot worse than I do, and luckily I'm just working really hard to overcome some of those things that are really hard for me. The next part is the DSM-5 is what I'm going through, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Illness. And yes, BPD is a mental illness. There's 3 different factors. There's your genetic factor. Having mental illness in your family puts you at higher risk. There's brain function and anomaly factors. So studies and research can actually show that the way that a person with BPD brain works is different in their emotional and impulse regulation control. It functions differently than an average individual. So with the interpersonal function impairments, is what they call it, is empathy is either high or low. You go between 2 moods. You're extreme to either side. You're either very happy and very excited. I like to be very excited with people in the morning and say, "Good morning, gentlemen!" And that's because I'm very excited and I'm very happy and I'm in like a very good moment. The other aspect of that is being very down, being very sad, being very withdrawn. So happy becomes excited and ecstatic, and sadness becomes depressive, shut down, and withdrawn from society. Anger becomes rage, violent rage, and I actually experienced that the other day for the first time, and let me tell you, I never want to experience it again. Usually I'm fluctuating between sadness and high intensity excitement, and I try and keep it on the excitement scale, because although sometimes it comes off as, whoa, she's a little too excited, it's a better place to be than being sad and withdrawn socially. And when I'm feeling down, it leads to me being dissociated a lot more. So dissociation is when you mentally check out. It can be a conscious, and an unconscious process. So it's something I can be like, oh, I don't really want to focus on that right now. I'm just going to kind of step back. It can also be something, a thought, something somebody talks about, registers in my brain, and my brain goes, nope, we're not dealing with that right now. And even though I'll be present, it's almost like I'm looking at myself from a mirror. I'm here. This is Jessica. I'm watching, not really listening. I'm not really in tune. I'm not really processing what you're saying to me because I'm back here and I'm withdrawn from this conversation. And you get very quiet. It's hard to answer questions. You often say, because the part of my brain that functions when I'm talking to somebody is not engaged. It's pulled back. That can be dangerous because if it gets really, really bad, then you get emotional blackouts. So then you get, you're doing things and saying things and going about your day with the blackout with a period of time that you don't remember what you had done. I haven't experienced that since last year, so yay. But I still get periods where I'm dissociated, and sometimes I'll get stuck in a dissociative state, and it's very difficult to rein it in and say, I need to be present with the world right now. So in that case, I find mindfulness has been really helpful. What do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What am I touching? What can I taste? Even if it's a quick breakdown of, I'm feeling out of it. Okay, I can hear the music playing in the background. I can feel, the couch fabric underneath me. I can smell the Febreze that I threw everywhere this morning. I can taste toothpaste from this morning. That keeps you in the moment and present. And I have to remember every day to do these exercises in order to pull me back and to keep me present. Now, I want people to know that this does not mean that you are not high functioning or that you cannot function in society. It means that you are struggling, that these are steps you have to take every day to regulate yourself and to maintain a stable, just shift in your emotions like everybody else is already able to. The next part is intimacy and relationships. They say that BPD can be very chaotic. In fact, some therapists and psychologists refuse to work with them because their emotions are so up and down. They could flake on, their counseling meetings and then not go to them. They're not participating fully in the homework, and unless you're not doing homework and not managing your symptoms effectively, it can be very chaotic because people are up and down. And I try to stay relatively stable. I do homework. I do work on my mental strategies. I do work to reduce the dissonance, that I feel in my body when I get anxious. I work on all these things and I work very hard, but that doesn't mean that it's not hard for me or that I'm not struggling with that. So in relationships, they're often very intense because we feel deeper than others feel. We feel sadness deeper, we feel anger deeper, we feel love, and we feel empathy, and we feel, these positive emotions so much more intense than a normal everyday individual feels. So they say relationships can be very unstable, often with conflicts, with people that are close to you. There's a lot of distrust in the relationships. It can seem like there's neediness or anxiousness, very preoccupied with real or imagined abandonment. And I don't even know where that comes from, but that is the thing that I hate the absolute worst. It's because I do get that. I feel rejected. I feel abandoned, whether it's true or not. And I have to fact check. Is this really what's going on? Or is this how I'm thinking right now, Jessica? And it's exhausting. It's very exhausting. Some of the personality traits that even make this even more negative is, of course, the emotional liability. Being up, being down. Who wants to be near somebody who has literally frequent mood changes? And I'm not talking, week to week. If you get in a slump, I'm not talking day to day. I'm talking moment to moment. Your personality, your moods are up, or she's down, or she's crying. Now she's angry. Now she's good. And it is exhausting. It affects me and affects, my entire world. Anyone who comes in contact with me, that I am not trying my best to hide, my disorder. There's a lot of anxiousness, feeling very nervous, feeling tense, feeling panic, often reacting just to interpersonal stress in a very deep way. Things that are personal to you, you take even more personally. And I want people to know that this is not something that we choose. If I could find it any other way, I would do it. But this is not something that I would want to put on anyone else. This is not something I would want to put on my significant other. It's so stressful, and you're very alone in it, because even though other people are like, God, that sucks, no one will truly understand how difficult it is for you to get up out of bed in the morning, let alone be a functioning, independent, very responsible, functioning adult, especially when you have kids. So we've already talked about the rejection and the insecurities. There's also depression that comes with it. which is very hard. Chronically being down, being miserable, feeling hopeless, feeling worthlessness, like you are literally no good, like you don't have a place in this world, and I have to talk myself out of that constantly. Along with that is some suicidal thoughts. I mean, and that's not something that we can control either. Part of my trying to get well is a risk management plan, and that means constantly assessing my risk for danger. So, am I feeling suicidal? Most days, there are definitely parts of that. That doesn't mean that I'm going to go and commit suicide, although 7 in 10 people with BPD do attempt to suicide, and 1 out of all those people that try will be successful. BPD carries one of the highest suicide risks ever, and it's not because, the emotions are hard, it's because the up and down is hard. We get sick and tired of being sick and tired and being exhausted with ourselves, being high, being low, being high, being low, and not having the ability to control it. That's what is the end all for these BP, and that resonates with me, and I can understand it, because there are days when I am so done. I am so done being this person, and it's not fair, and I want to scream, and I want to say, what the hell did I ever do? Because I worked so hard at everything I do in this world, whether it's working, whether it's being with the kids, whether it's being a student or mom or a wife, sister. I'm there when people need me. Why did this happen? And there is no good answer to that. I think the third factor that he didn't mention, I said there was 3 factors: your brain functioning and abnormalities, genetic factors of having mental illness in your family, and social environmental factors. That means childhood trauma. That means instances of intense fear, things that would cause PTSD as a child. As you get older, it's not so much a factor, but definitely in the ranges between 0 and 10, and then other factors between 10 and 18. Things that you have seen, things that you have heard, things that you have witnessed, these all contribute to this diagnosis. 2 more criteria for the DSM-5. Impulsivity. And this can be fun. But really it's not. It makes you a shopaholic. It makes you do things on the fly. I've had a very limited wardrobe all my life, and all of a sudden I need a bigger closet because they're all important to me and I need them all. Luckily, I'm a very frugal shopper, so none of it costs more than a few cents. So I'm lucky in that aspect, but still, I have that impulsivity. I want things, I do it. I want to do something, I do it. I don't want to ask, I want to do it. And that's just part of who I am, and part of what I need to do is regulate. Is this something we need right now, Jessica? Is this something we need to do right now, Jessica? If not, then let's just let it ride, honey. And I literally have to coach myself and talk myself out of, some of the decisions. Along with that is risk-taking. And if you don't know me by now, and anyone who does know me knows that I'm a huge risk taker. And that is just part of my diagnosis. It is just pushing the envelope. It is searching for that high, that thrill. Even if it's a self-damaging activity, even if it's unnecessary and it has consequences, if I feel the urge along with the risk-taking and impulsivity, it's going to happen. I'm going to do it. Now I'm getting better at regulating and saying, okay, I know I want to do it. These are the ways I can reduce the risk of harm. Because ultimately, I need to be there for my kids. I need to be there for my family. I need to be there for my husband. My having this disorder and being impulsive, being risk-taking, some people really get into promiscuity because it gives them that sense of feeling alive for a moment, having different partners. Luckily, I'm not in that aspect. I'm not out in the world just seeking every opportunity that I can. But I have to realize that I am susceptible to that I could make poor choices just based on where my brain is at, especially if I'm in a very high, intense, feeling and it goes on for a while. I need to be able to regulate. So along with all these things that I just told you, and I know it's a lot, the biggest thing that I need people to know is that 1, we didn't choose our diagnosis. 2, it's hard as freaking hell. Please don't judge. 3rd, I'm going to get through it. It's hard at times. I can feel things getting bad again. I went through a really bad spell last fall, and then into the spring, I had to take a semester off. I can feel that raging up again. And if the mood swings are coming and they're more intense, the medication's not working, you're getting a lot more down days where you're crying and you can't get yourself out of that funk, and then you switch and you're very excited. That kind of troubling times are coming. And so this time, rather than keeping that all in on myself and let it wear on myself, my relationship, I needed to reach out and let others know that this is something I'm going through. And if anything else, I just need you to know. I need you to know where I'm coming at. So if I post something and it sounds like, wow, where did that come from? She's being super drama. She's not. She's not. She's reaching out and she needs help. She's trying to manage her life as effectively as she can. This is something that just happened. She didn't want it to happen. I can't control it. I'm doing my absolute best. I'm working hard. Don't judge. Okay? Be sensitive to it and don't pity. Don't. Last thing anyone needs with a disorder, a mental disorder, somebody say, "Oh God, I'm so sorry," because that helps not at all. Now you just put us in a victim identity, and I am not a victim. I'm somebody that's struggling with it, and I'm trying to overcome it. And the last thing I want to say is don't give up on us. A lot of us wear our hearts on our sleeve. We're so emotional because they say that having BPD is like having third-degree burns over 90% of your body, because your emotional skin is so thin that the slightest touch, the slightest, somebody's making a comment hurts so bad that it literally will shut you down. So we're emotional and we're empathetic, and it makes people really, really seem like they're off their rocker, but really they're experiencing intense emotions that you can't even understand on your most saddest day. You can never comprehend what it feels like to take on those emotions. So please don't give up on us. Educate yourselves more about BPD and other mental illnesses, because I'll tell you right now, there's such a stigma surrounding mental illness that a lot of people are not seeking treatment. Even if they are in treatment, they're keeping it from their families, and I know I did for a long while. And they're not coming out to others and getting the social supports. The more we hold on to it and the more we try and deal with it ourselves, the harder we're making it for us to get social supports and to reach out to others and say, I'm struggling. So putting out this video hopefully is going to help wake people up to the stigmas that people with mental illness face every single day, and some of the things that I'm struggling with personally. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, go to BPD, look it up on the the National Institution for Mental Health. That's a great website. And also the DSM-5 online will have a lot of information too. Thank you very much.